Hello, podcast listener. Today's episode features Jennifer Sheets, aka Jenny from the Block Sheets. We're going to talk about writing. We're going to talk about books. We're going to talk about favorite things that we've read over the years. And Tucker makes me say the same thing multiple times. All of this and so much more today. But first, a word from our sponsor. This episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. Natalie has a proven track record to get your home sold faster and for more money. She is consistently focused on her clients' needs and wants throughout the entire process and make sure that they are well taken care of. If you're looking to buy or sell, reach out to Natalie today. On average, Natalie sells a home every 3.74 days. That's at least 2 a week. And last year, Natalie earned her clients on average over $4,000 above list price on their homes. And you don't have to take our word for it. Here's some of the great reviews Natalie has received. I was overwhelmingly impressed with Natalie and all the Hatch team. She was very responsive and responded to all of the emails within an hour. She gave great advice and encouragement from the listing and pictures, the offer, and all the closing details. The marketing team knew exactly how to promote my property, and I was pleased by how soon and easily my property received an offer. I was actually dreading selling my condo, and Natalie did such an awesome job that I felt like I really didn't need to do anything. The thing I most appreciated was that she really listened to what I wanted to do and respected my decisions. I would definitely recommend Natalie and all the Hatch Realty team. They made this process so wonderful. That was from Diane. So listen, if you're in the mood to buy or sell a home, give Natalie a call right now. You can reach her at 701-388-9338, Natalie, Natalie, at hatchrealtyfm.com, or you can go to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com and find out some information. Huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I hate paper cuts. And I use the word hate here because paper cuts are something where it's like, gah, paper, a knife. I know a knife is supposed to cut me, right? If you throw a piece of rebar hard enough at me, it should pierce my skin because it's metal and sharp. But when a piece of paper cuts me, I'm not only in pain, but I'm also deflated as a man.
It's a different level of pain. It kind of gets into your brain in a different way.
Yeah. Feels so weird. So when I hear about people being tortured by like someone taking and paper cutting between their toes or like the webbing of their hands, like that sounds horrific. No, thank you. And it makes me think of maybe the best villain from Pete and Pete.
Yes.
Paper cut.
Yes. Because he would create weapons out of paper too. Like he would create like a hacksaw.
Yep.
Or knives and daggers.
He was the MacGyver of paper, which is what I think is so amazing.
And he was a villain when they were just doing the Pete and Pete shorts, even before they had the full show. So he's OG.
Oh, what does OG mean?
Original gangster.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. In fact, with our guest Jennifer Sheets today, I know her as Jenny Sheets.
Right.
In fact, any girl I know named Jennifer, I've met when I was younger and called them Jenny. I can't make that transition to Jennifer.
Right. Jenny Sheets.
Jenny Sheets.
Like you have to say the full first and last name.
So Jenny, our guest today.
Jenny Sheets.
Jenny Sheets. Jenny Sheets. We have a really great conversation with Jenny. This is a longer episode, but we cover a lot of territory.
Yeah.
She's going to talk about Storysquares, this new app that she's been producing. She's going to talk about what it's like to write and the aspects of writing.
I haven't seen her for a few years, and I've just been assuming that she lived at the top of a mountain this whole time. And I'm not totally off either. It's been a lot of mountain time with Jenny Sheets.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't pull out a map, but we definitely give a little bit of visualization to the way Jenny lives her life. She's out in Montana. I've known Jenny for decades now.
She's got a new app that she's been working on.
Yeah.
What was it called
I just
again?
said that, Storysquares.
Storysquares.
I literally just said that whole thing there.
She also has been living out in Bozeman.
Oh, yeah?
And we knew her back in high school.
I knew her decades ago in elementary school. Thanks for paying attention to me, Tucker.
She also has an app coming out.
But you know what? There's people who drown my voice out in this intro. And so now for sure we've hit them with that information.
I'm one of them.
So we got you double time there. So I hope you enjoy this episode. If you have a chance, why not rate this podcast? A 5-star rating on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that you consume the podcast that you love. It goes a long way for
Helps
us.
us out.
All right. Podcast go.
JJ Meets World.
Jenny Sheets is our guest today. So there are few people in my life who I call them by their first name. Now,
By their first name?
or by their first and last name. Thank you.
For everybody's Johnson, get over
Get
here.
out of here. You're really being a bad guest right off the bat. You just got to really just dig it in there.
Oh, you know.
But I can never say your name without saying Jenny Sheets. So when I told Tucker, I booked Jenny Sheets, I'm like, Jenny Sheets will be there.
Yep, Jenny
Get ready.
Sheets.
Jenny Sheets is going to be there.
It's like celebrity status.
Do you know when you Google your name?
Oh, God.
One of the first things that comes up is a sheet set. So there
Really?
must be
Like a
someone.
Jenny
Yeah,
sheet set?
like Sheets by Jenny or
That-
something like that.
You're bringing back all the horrible jokes from high school that I
Yeah,
got.
that wasn't very fair for you, huh?
Between the... Jenny between the sheets.
I always thought
think that
Jenny
was a Dustin
Fitted
one.
Sheets was a good one.
Oh, I think you did. That was much more innocent and PG. Thank you. Yeah. No, I didn't even stand a chance.
So Jenny and I go way back, and when I mean way back, we're talking decades here because we both went to Claire Barton Elementary School.
Represent.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, did you see that they changed their mascot?
They're not the Roadrunners anymore?
No, I am furious.
What are
it's
they?
like a wolf hybrid thing.
What?
I don't know, but like a wolf Wolverine cyborg. I'm not sure,
That is
but it's
unfortunate.
not a Roadrunner.
Because we were, at that, let's also say that we were, copyright infringement was taking place at Claire Barton because we were using the Roadrunner from Looney Tunes as our mascot. It was a giant mural in our
That's true.
gym. But, even
Were you
still.
worried about this at like 6 years old?
I was like, I don't think you guys have the proper clearance to use the Roadrunner.
You guys got to collect all these shirts with Roadrunner on it because it's going to be a collector's item at some
Oh,
point.
yeah.
So Claire Barton Elementary was an interesting place. Were you a part of Sunshine Choir?
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. God, we were good.
Sunshine Choir was a morning choir that, of course, you'd learn some songs and then sing them at assemblies. But do you remember the logo for Sunshine Choir?
I don't think so.
It was supposed to look like a choir, like 9 people standing together, but it looked like bowling pins. They were shapeless children and no faces. And I was like, what? It looks like a bowling
was
team.
it bright yellow shirts that we had?
Bright
Yeah,
yellow.
like ugly yellow.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
remember we sang a song? Tucker, I don't know if you had this in your childhood, but I really hope so. About the cat that came back. The cat came back
the very next day.
And do you remember one of the lyrics was the A bomb fell, but the cat came back.
Yeah.
It's just the weirdest lyrics for little 10-year-olds.
It's a pretty horrific song when you think about it, because it's about a man consistently killing a cat. And then he put it in a box and he threw it over the bridge, but the cat came back the very next day.
And you got us little in our yellow shirts. The cat came back. Just nice lesson.
I remember doing sign language to "Can You Feel the Love Tonight?" But it
Oh
wasn't
my
real sign language. It was more like interpretive dance, like "Can you feel the love tonight?"
It's just whatever our music teacher made up that day.
Yeah.
This is probably night.
Now, who was your music teacher at Claire Barton?
Mrs. Claris.
See, I had
Claris.
someone you'll recognize at Horseman, which was Mrs. Radnicki.
Oh yeah,
because
wow.
her husband was the choir teacher at our high school.
Right. And
Yeah,
so
big
I
theater
grew
name.
up with Mrs. Radnicki all the time. She was
Wow.
our music teacher. So I thought you South kids would like that little connection.
Oh, I
was
like
nice.
that. See, I thought you were going to say, I didn't know how universal your podcast was when you're somebody you guys know.
Everywhere except Wyoming.
Yeah, every
My
state.
music teacher was Celine Dion.
That's why Tucker pounds his chest so often when he's getting into a high note. So,
and the shower.
Jenny, we end up going to high school together. We do some improv there.
Lots of improv.
Don Quixotes. And then we hang out at Trollwood as well, where you had one of the most iconic Trollwood News at Noon characters of all time.
My one shining moment in 8 years.
You had Soccer Mom.
Love Soccer Mom.
Which is a character I imagine was pretty, not even loosely, it was pretty hardcore based on your own mom.
Oh, my mom.
Yeah,
for sure.
Paula.
Although she never brought us to soccer, and she would hate if I called her a soccer mom, but she drove that van everywhere. I was like, well, there's just, I mean, we replaced like shoes with soccer balls, you know, or like vice versa. But yeah, that was my mom.
Was it fun? Did you have fun in Trollwood? Like spending summers doing all that stuff?
That was a dream come true to be able to just run around this entire outdoor campus as a kid, have very few rules, and have these teachers that kind of agreed with, you know, the whole concept of just let them go, let them run. That was life-changing. I talk about it all the time.
I always wonder if other kids get such a great outlet during the summer.
No.
Like, is something like Trollwood, is there a Trollwood in each region where people are getting a chance to send their kids to have this creative outlet?
I mean, I grew up around Trollwood. I mean, I actually lived at Trollwood for about 3 days in like 91 when our house was getting all the floors redone and my dad was teaching there. And so my mom, my dad, my sister, and I lived in the teacher's lounge for like 3 days one summer, which was the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So magical.
So
like
magical.
living at camp.
Right. But dad was teaching there, mom was teaching there. So I would be there every summer, and then I would be around when they were putting up the main stage musical. And so, yeah, you just felt like you had this magical park that's a beautiful, beautiful park. And now I feel bad for these kids who don't get to have that park be the place. I haven't spent enough time in the new Trollwood, so I couldn't tell you how aesthetically pleasing it is to be out there or not. But
It's probably beautiful, but if the walls aren't falling down and leaking, then it's not the same.
right. There was something like old about
Yeah.
the North Fargo Trollwood.
So I've spent some time at the new Trollwood. And for those of people who are listening who have no idea what we're talking about, it's a performing arts school that you can take video classes, you can take dance classes, there's sketch writing classes, there's directing, there's improv, all sorts of great performing arts things. So the old one happened to be in North Fargo, a north part of our town, where they had an old hog barn was one of the classrooms. And it used to be an old like farmstead up there. And now the new one is this amazing state-of-the-art facility. So the experience they're getting, if we got a more hippie-like Woodstock experience,
Yes.
they're getting a much more like Microsoft
Coachella.
era experience. Yeah, exactly. And so they're just different.
Right.
So
They
they're
might have
getting
the fancy
different things.
facilities, but you know, and I don't know how it compares, but it really felt like the kids ran the campus. You know, we got all the guidance and there was this mutual respect. It didn't feel like we were in the way. Never felt like, you know, we were in trouble.
Well, it felt like a better version of high school to all these kids because you chose to go there. You were taking classes you were interested in. You were outdoors for most of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, these were friendships that you made that oftentimes if they were kids at other schools, you wouldn't see them throughout the year until summertime. I did theater in high school, but I always completely avoided the main stage musical because I always wanted to have part of my summer to just do my thing. And so Trollwood became video class central for me, getting to take that there. But yeah, nothing more fun than to just be creative with your friends in that kind of
dancing on those
environment.
outdoor stages, and come like July, they'd be so hot we couldn't even dance on them. Your feet would like burn off. We didn't even care. It was just like, oh man, I just remember to be able to like look out in the field and you'd see, the video classes over here, like maybe, you know, setting up the next sketch, and then you've got people hammering away on the main stage, and then off in the distance, people are dancing ballet in the field. Like, how more surreal can you get?
And there's beautiful old trees, and there's a
the
river.
river.
But that also became part of the problem was the flooding that happens, and after, you know, that land is just getting eroded away.
Yeah.
They've also found, you know, burials there, you know, from just ancient, older groups, and it's just an area that it was becoming more and more hazardous to be able to run any operation there. I remember when Candy Lane you could still use. Yep. And you could actually still get to Broadway from Candy Lane. I remember that. And that's been closed now for how long?
20 years now?
Because of erosion.
Yep. So we hang out at Trollwood, and then were you your class's president?
Oh my gosh, I was. Yep.
Yeah. What's it like being a class president?
At Trollwood, did Trollwood have class presidents or at South?
That would
It's
be
South.
I was like, I don't remember that
That would
happening.
be like, remember the movie Camp Nowhere?
Yeah.
Like Camp Nowhere had a president.
Yes.
That was Jessica Alba's first role.
Really?
As the class president?
No.
Oh, I loved that movie. Yeah, class president, senior year. And I mean, it doesn't mean anything until 8 years later when
have
everybody
to-
starts banging on your door. Where's the 10-year reunion planning? What are we doing? What's happening?
Is that the charge of the president?
Oh God, yeah. And I think a lot of people, it just falls off their plate. But for me, I was like, God damn it, I'm going to rule this thing with an iron fist.
Tell me if this is true. I heard that there's a little bit of scandal because you changed the date, like,
Oh, yep.
after it had already been like, okay,
No.
this is it. And then Jenny was like, no, I'm going to change the date because I got something else going on this other day.
Yep,
Something else
yep.
better came up than seeing all of my high school friends. I'm the president.
Well, yeah, did I not just say iron fist? I do what I want. I called Putin, and he said it's fine.
Look at school, Jenny.
Change the date. No, that was more Russian. No, Italian.
Yeah,
Italian
it doesn't
Putin.
matter. We don't really know what he sounds like because we don't watch enough news. So you plan your high school reunion. How was
Yep.
that for you?
Oh my gosh, it was. So the planning was an experience. Nobody wanted to be involved, and then suddenly everybody wanted to be involved, and then suddenly nobody wanted to be involved. So it was a fun little Facebook experiment. Did you hear that come out? Just a little like experiment.
It's your back in
It's coming out.
Fargo. It's going to come out.
God, but then, so the planning was pretty terrible. But then come the night of the reunion, it was pure magic. I felt like I was walking into a high school movie where the basketball players roll in drunk. Some girl's makeup is streaming down her face because she's bawling about something. There was a girl fight on the dance floor. The security didn't even know how to handle it. I was laughing so hard watching all of this. And then people are coming up to me, do we need to kick people out? I was like, let them go. This is magic. When are you going to see this? And people are screaming and yelling. I think the DJ ended up quitting early because he got in a fight with somebody. So there was no music then.
Yeah, you're right, Jenny. This sounds magical. Magical is the word I would use to describe to what you're talking about right now.
I was laughing so hard. It was great. It's total self-destruction.
It's like black magic. It's like Defense Against the Dark Arts magic.
Right, but isn't that kind of what you want? You sort of want to see that, right? You want to
Yeah.
relive high school a little bit and let
Exactly,
those
like deep
let
down
those
inside.
things happen.
And it was cool to see everybody in the same room. Like it was like time traveling. People are like, oh, I don't think I'm going to go to my high school reunion. I was like, you've got to go to just. It's such a weird feeling. It is like time traveling. Like you've gone back 10 years.
Yeah, and you get the best part of going to a class reunion, which is watching all of the spouses who were forced to come.
Oh, yeah.
They're so miserable. And it's like, oh, God, that's fun. That's fun to watch them be miserable. I don't know why, because I didn't bring my girlfriend to my reunion. I was like,
No.
you're not coming.
My
and she was
husband
like,
said, hell
she was
no.
like, I don't want to go. I was like, that's good. You're not coming. And watching all the people who were forced to be there was delicious.
I know.
It was
What a
fantastic.
weird thing.
Why do you bring your significant other to this?
Why do people bring their kids?
Oh, God. We said no children allowed.
Ugh.
I think we said that at our wedding, too. Maybe I just have an issue
I
with
tried
kids,
to get
I
my
guess.
wife to say no kids, and she's like,
Now I have.
well, then this person won't come and this person won't come. And I'm like, well,
Oh,
that's
sorry.
the price we're going to pay for this.
They had kids, not us.
Yep. They made that decision.
So then I go to Jenny's wedding, and I don't know if you know this, but like I tried to recreate your wedding. Like I was like, I've got to rent out Camp Cormorant. That
I
was the
didn't know
most
that.
amazing thing
It was
ever.
pretty fun.
It was. And then we had to move our wedding from the beginning of October to the end of
Oh,
October.
really?
And they're
You
like
changed
Campstone.
dates after everyone was planning on a specific
I hadn't
date.
sent out
Interesting.
any like
He hadn't
invites
sent
or
out- he hadn't
anything.
sent out a date.
It was dress based too. Jill went in to get fitted it was like her first dress fitting, and she's like, "This is the dress. I know it. I love it." And they're like, "She's like, when's the wedding date?" Like October 7th. And they're like, "Ooh, this is like mid July, by the way." And they're like, "Ooh, I don't know." And so they put this fear in her that this dress might not be ready in the very earliest that is even possible, and it's probably going to take some extra money.
Oh my
Is
gosh.
the end of October. So I think she pays this extra money, and then 7 days later, the dress is in her hands.
Oh my
And I want to be
gosh.
like, they were full of shit. They were trying to get you to just walk out of here with a purchase.
Yep.
The bridal industry, the whole wedding industry is just disgusting.
It is awful.
We kind of had the antithesis to all of it. I mean, we just wanted camp, food, booze.
Yeah. So
That's it.
So describe your wedding, because it was probably one of the most fun weddings I've ever been to in my life.
It was so fun. And again, it's because I am the Putin of planning. And I told everybody, I was like, you do dress up or you don't come. And it was a 1940s themed wedding. So it was, how cool was it to look out
sweet.
and everybody was dressed up. Suspenders, big hats, heels, the big dresses. And it was at Camp Cormorant. So gorgeous day, 1,000 feet of beachfront. And then just a huge dance. And that's all we wanted. My dress was $100. Bought it for my friend. I think Dave got his whole outfit at Target. Like, we were just like, whatever.
Nice.
And my parents cooked all the food.
Yeah, and we ate like in the mess hall, and you were invited to spend the night as long as you brought your own pillow and sheets.
Yep.
Because
your sheets, huh?
Your sheets, yeah. Blankets.
I'm bringing
blankets.
the sheets.
And there was a big thing about how, like, since it's a summer camp, there's very little parking. I mean, very little parking. So please carpool in some way. And so I chose to carpool with previous podcast guest Phil Lund, who, of course, like we gotta leave at like 11. We're leaving at 11. It's 11:45, and he's like, I just gotta hop in the shower. And I'm like, fuck that, let's go. Let's get out of here.
I'll throw you in the
That's
lake.
why he was so stinky.
Yeah, he's always so sweaty.
What did that lady say on the airplane?
Why are you so sweaty? Said it straight to Phil's face. I was like, because I was at a concert.
What a rude thing to say.
Right. But like, he was getting on this plane and he was really sweaty.
I would prefer he hosed down before getting on the plane too. Or anyone on the plane, because that air's getting recycled. So you're getting that Phil stain at some point.
At your wedding, there was a brief rainstorm where everyone danced out in the rain too, which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And
So my dress got soaked twice because I danced in the rain, in the pouring rain. And I think it dried off because I was dancing and sweating. And then at midnight, I think you were gone. You had to run because you forgot it was your anniversary, didn't you?
Yep. I was like, oh shit.
Whoops. Got to get back. But at like midnight, we just all jumped in the lake fully clothed.
Why not, right?
Yeah, why not?
Well, and people switched into like bathing suits right after the wedding and were jumping in the lake.
They were swimming. At the end of the night, though, around like 11, we were in the dance hall. And I left for some reason, maybe to grab a drink, came back, and all the guys were in their underwear. So I really lost control of that. I'm not sure what happened, but
sounds like a Russian wedding.
Yeah.
You are the Putin of Planning, which is also this podcast episode's title.
The Putin of Planning.
Putin of Planning.
So and then you left the area. You decided to like be your own person.
Yeah. Well, do you remember it was, I think the year around senior year, I was doing Trollwood. So I don't know if I had graduated or it was before senior year of high school. And my family always went out to Jackson Hole every year. So we went out for like, a few days and we would get a little cabin and do the whole thing out at Grand Teton National Park. Well, one summer we go out and we're at the grocery store right before close at that night. And my family was leaving the next morning. And the manager says, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm getting ready to go to college. So yeah, it must have been after senior year. And he says, well, you should come out and work for us. We've got lots of college kids working. I was like, okay, maybe one day I can get you a job tomorrow. Like, well, my mom was like, oh, you should do it. That would be Jennifer, think about it. I was like, oh God. So we go back and I'm supposed to start Trollwood in like a week. The next day, my parents peer pressured me, left me. I had one toothbrush, one pair of underwear. No, there's no cell phones back then, or if there were, I sure didn't have one. And they just drove away, left me. So I didn't get to do Trollwood that summer, and I just got left in Wyoming. So that's how it kind of started, as I ended up just in the mountains and came back, and I was like, wow.
Where'd you live, like above the grocery store?
No, they had dorms for their employees.
Really?
But do you remember me in high school? No drinking, no smoking. I was the good kid. All of a sudden, I get here my first night. Some guy from Georgia, Jamie, is shit-faced drunk, throws a chair down the hallway that splinters into a million pieces, then takes the fire extinguisher and lights it off in the dorm. So everybody has to get evacuated. I was like, oh, geez, what have I gotten myself into?
I think you unfairly had the, like, everyone thought like, well, it's Jenny Sheets, it's the goody girl and she doesn't do anything that's wrong. And,
I didn't.
But it's not fair to, I think, label that, because people just find out who they are. I mean, I'm not the person I was in high school. I've got great aspects I keep from that era, but we label people too much these days, and we expect it. Like, I remember when J. Scott Miller came back after his first semester of college, and all of a sudden he was like smoking a cigarette and he was drinking a beer, and we're like, well, you're the nerdy computer guy.
What are
Like,
you
you're not
doing?
supposed to do this.
Give me that beer.
All my
And-
friends who were the ones who were teetotalers in high school, like in the last 5 years, have all sort of discovered drinking all of a sudden, and that's what they do now.
Just in the last few years?
Yeah, like recently, like
like
they
30?
they stuck with it through their 20s.
Wow.
And at the end of the 20s, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna try some whiskey. And
my
then they realize
gosh.
that being drunk is fun.
A whole new
Then
world.
they've been trying to catch up. But I feel like I'm so beyond the regular drunk part. I'm just like, I just want to go watch Netflix.
Oh gosh, yeah. I can't. It's so hard to get me out of the house like after 8. I just want my like one little whiskey, go to bed.
I'm surprised I'm here right now.
Is this a little too late for you?
No, I just
10 a.m.?
I just love being home. I just love being home, right? Who is it? Tom Segura, I think, starts his stand-up where he's about how, like, everyone, you always feel like, fuck this place, let's go home. Like, that's everyone always feels like that constantly. So let's wrap this up.
I've seen this T-shirt that says, "I'm sorry, I'm late. I didn't want to come." Maybe you need that.
Have you seen, there was a going around social media, this like happy birthday banner, and it was like, happy birthday, everyone please leave by 9 below it.
Oh
And I
my
was
gosh,
like,
that's me.
yeah, I was like, I got to get that for my house.
Oh yeah, I put end dates on my party planning. I mean, again, Putin.
Isn't it
Yeah.
Ron Swanson who, for his wedding reception, says the wedding reception will take place at each of our homes alone?
Jenny, so you spend this summer out there, and then you decide you're going to go to college. You're going to still go to college, right? Like, you didn't suddenly want to move out to the middle of nowhere and start a shack and type a manifesto.
That kind of happened later when I
Right.
was applying to law school. So after college, so I went to college at MSUM and the University of Montana. Then I applied to law school and planning on going, ready to go, and pull a 180 and head down to South America and backpack alone for 6 months.
See, as I've followed you on social media over the years, I've had the impression that you just live at the top of a mountain somewhere, that you are a Sherpa, and that you're floating while meditating.
Oh my God, you should see me carry something.
And there's all this stuff going on. So, how much mountain time have you put in over the past couple of years? In my mind, you live hanging from the side of a cliff, right? Just by like a carabiner
That's
or
true.
something.
Actually, you're
I
not
always
far off.
Pictured your house with like just a hammock, like you're sleeping in a hammock.
Yep, no running water. I've even trained myself to stop pooping.
Oh, good for you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
I hear
sounds
that's
like
difficult.
hell. That sounds like absolute hell.
Yeah,
I
No,
don't
it
know what
just-
my body would
it's
do if I couldn't do this every
Vaporize.
few hours.
It just leaves my body through my pores.
So tell us about South America.
Oh, that was awesome. But that was like a sow and oats kind of trip. I just went hog wild. Learned a little Spanish. I was supposed to be going to school to study Spanish before law school. Dropped out because it was too hard. I was like, why would I stay here? I'm going to Antarctica. So just kind of got on a boat to Antarctica.
You did go to Antarctica.
I did.
See, that I'm super jealous of.
That was so cool. Really cool. I felt lucky though. They were leaving in 3 days, so I got like a super discounted rate because they
So-
wanted to just fill it.
So to get there, I mean, what is the path to get there? I would assume it's a combination of plane and boat.
Yeah, so let me see here. I took a plane down to Ushuaia, Argentina, the southernmost city in the world. And from there, got on a boat, and it was 2 days of just hell. I mean, I was on a little one. It was only like, I think 75 people with the crew as well. And so it wasn't one of those big cruise ships. So furniture would just fly across the room. People were throwing up everywhere. At one point in the night, I saw that they started testing the lifeboats outside.
I take it back. I don't want to go to Antarctica.
That was a moment that I was like, ooh, it is dark. They're outside. I see the lifeboats are going. Okay.
See, I was hoping
This
there'd
could
be
get
some sort
real.
of like helicopter flight you take and you just land there, but no.
Maybe for you and Celine Dion, have her call in it.
How am I connected to Celine Dion all of a sudden?
You just are.
Okay.
She was your music teacher. That's what I heard.
That's right. That's right. Her and then Mrs. Weiser and then Mrs. Askeruth.
Yeah.
So you get down. So what's the experience like?
Oh, it was extraordinary of just every day. Well, because, I wasn't in a relationship, decided I wasn't going to do school, pretty much decided I would have no responsibility at all. I used all the money that was in my savings that was supposed to go to school and just every day could say, all right, I met some cool people. I'm going to get on this bus. Or I wonder where that boat goes. Just kind of whatever I wanted. And then I got to somewhere in the middle of the country, Peru or somewhere, and just thought, I want to go home. And I just got this craving for Detroit lakes. wanted to come back for the 4th of July because they have a huge party. And that's how I met Dave, now my husband, 11 years
just
later.
think about it, if you had waited and been like, I'm going to enjoy Labor Day. Like your life could be so much different.
Gosh, I know. And I do celebrate Labor Day like the best of them. But
Oh yeah, you go hard on Labor Day. It's big time. You want to know about the Putin of Planning, like Labor Day extravaganzas.
that's my one day I put down my Putin hat. I'm like, you know what? Kick off your shoes. Let's do this.
I've always really appreciated the fact that you're up for the adventure, whatever it's going to be. And there's at no time is it ever like, no, I'm done exploring the world or relationships.
Oh God,
I'm
I
ready
feel like
to
maybe that's it now.
I don't
I have
think
a
so.
full-time job.
So, but okay, so let's even talk about the reason why you're here in Fargo.
Yeah.
So you were on our guest list, but we were like, we'd probably have to drive out to Montana if we want to get like Jenny on that
You
one.
guys do need to do a podcast in Montana.
Then all of a sudden, I pull up my Facebook because I'm still active on that, like every other 65-year-old in the nation. And I see that 1 Million Cups here in Fargo, which is sort of this inspirational gathering of people every week. Jennifer Sheets is going to be there, and she's going to be presenting on Storysquares. And I was like, damn it, Jenny. Like, you came to my
Sorry.
bachelor party, and you're not even going to tell me when you're in town?
But I didn't tell you I was coming to your bachelor party
You did
either.
not. You really surprised me. Like, all of a sudden, this woman in a pink wig, like, rams into me at the airport, and I'm like, Jesus, bitch. And I was like, oh my God, it's Jenny Sheets. I did not see that one coming.
Okay, JJ's trying to act cool because in true JJ fashion, I body slam him and he goes, oh, I'm so sorry. He apologizes to me.
That's a big guy thing, because I always feel like, I'm the one who's bothering people. I imagine Andre the Giant apologized a lot too. So tell me about Storysquares.
So Storysquares is an app that I created a few years ago, 2 years ago, still in the works, getting there. And we offer interactive writing templates. So let's say you're writing, all kids kind of have to write the same papers these days. So one of them is a persuasive essay. And most kids don't know how. They get home and the parents are like, I don't know what the hell this is. So they start Googling it. But what we do is we create digital sticky notes. So just like you were to put sticky notes up on a board, and we walk you through step by step. So here's where you have your thesis. Here's where you have your supporting evidence. Here's where you have your counterclaim. And you type in all the squares, and then all that text is auto-populated into a full, easy-to-read doc.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But you can use it for novels. You can use it for business plans, technical writing, pretty much anything that you would just need to break up to see a bird's eye view of.
That's really interesting that when you said the novels part, I've been making a concerted effort again to get back into reading this year. I didn't hit my Goodreads goal of last year. I missed it by 3 books.
So you're
I'm
such a failure.
I know, huge failure. So I'm trying to not be as much of a failure, but I hadn't read anything and it's already May. So I have 6 months left to go.
How many books are on your list?
20.
Ooh, okay.
But I'm almost done with the first one. But as I've been doing that, I've been watching interviews with authors, specifically authors who do larger novels, because writing is hard enough as it is. I'm writing a summary for one of these podcasts. So trying to picture someone who does a massive piece of work like that. And then I just thought, I wonder what sort of tools are out there now that weren't available to, George R.R. Martin when he first started, or way back even further than that. So would this app of yours be conducive to a certain size novel, anything, or
That's
what?
a good question. We're hoping. So right now we're in beta, which means that it's just a very baby little fetus version of an app. So we'll start testing this out for probably shorter stuff, because you see like maybe 6, 10, or 15 squares. Really, you can do as many as you want. But if you start, like when you like zoom out of your iPhotos and it gets to like tiny little pixels, that's not very helpful for writing a novel. So we have to figure out what that would look like. But we also don't want to go back to the whole like, you remember Microsoft where it would be like folder and folder and folder and folder and folder. That's just a pain in the ass too.
And a little paper clip.
Right.
You look like you're using a preposition.
Let me help. So somewhere in the middle of, how do you write Game of Thrones on an app?
In high school, we're taught the rules of grammar, right? We're taught what are classics. You study some of those things. But I feel like it might be a stronger choice to not focus on grammatical rules with kids at that age.
Exactly.
And more on finding your voice and speaking clearly, writing clearly, and cutting to the chase, and then going, okay, here are the mistakes in grammar that have gotten here. We're going to help you realize that and work on that, but not prioritize it over other things.
That's exactly my pitch.
Because then kids just tune out. It's just, I have to remember this rule set before I have to remember to speak in my own voice.
Yes, we say...
Or to revise.
I've taught writing from kindergarten through college. So I just got done teaching at the University of Montana, but I've also taught reading and writing to elementary school, high school. We say we're spending way too much time on spelling and grammar and not enough on organization and logic. Just kids don't even know where they're going, and they're worried so much about this preposition or this comma or, the sentence structure. Just forget all of that. Just write, but also think about logic. Does this make sense? And does it do what you want it to do?
You have the power to revise and edit, and you should be doing those things. So get it out of you first.
Right.
Get words onto the page. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
That's fine. Everything sucks the first time. It's the good stories you've read are typically the ones that the author rewrote them 10 or 20 times.
Absolutely.
And then they had an editor look at it. And that was sort of my second thing I wanted to get some insight on, is that I've been exploring the role of the author's editor. So an editor, either one who comes in that the author hires to come in before it even gets to the publisher, versus that relationship, and how exactly does that work? And so I'm just looking for insight on that relationship a bit. That's not a world I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
When I think of editing, I think of what I do, which is video editing and audio editing.
Yeah.
Which has a totally different role than the author's editor. So can you illuminate that a little bit for me?
I mean, I don't know it a ton because I haven't quite gotten a lot into the publishing world, but from my experience, there are professional editors who just kind of contract work, and they reach out to, or the authors reach out to them, and they read your manuscript, and they'll look at the high level stuff and then the micro stuff, right? The sentence level. But, the biggest stuff first, like you said, is looking at, does it make sense? Does it do what you want to do? Or all the threads, do they come together? Is there a good plot if it's fiction or, even nonfiction? And why would you be worried about a sentence if you're, probably just going to cut it anyway? So that then comes second. And then the publisher's editor, my gosh, I have no idea. I hope to know one day, but
they're just thinking about what's the book jacket going to look like? What I'm highlighting these sentences and is this the cover art?
Right. I'm picturing the writer who gets a manuscript back and it's covered in red marks and there's whole paragraphs that have been rewritten or whatever. You should word it like
just
this.
Blacked out.
Right.
Forget about it. Don't even think about it.
Right. I mean, I bet that is a tough pill to swallow.
You know who has a good book on this, if you are interested? Stephen King.
On writing?
Yes, On Writing. His only nonfiction that I'm aware of. It is a phenomenal book. It is so well written. He tells a lot of childhood stories. So it's part memoir, part craft. And he gives a lot of advice on editing, storytelling, how you get ideas. It's really good.
Might have to pick up that Stephen King book.
I just feel like Jenny's the Putin of writing.
Ooh, yeah. Iron Fist.
So when I think of writing, I have to blog for work, which drives me nuts.
You even said the word blog like you were sort of throwing up in your mouth at the same time.
Here's the thing. It's one thing if you're going to force me to do it, and they're like, it's quantity over quality.
So that JJ Meets World blog we were planning, we should just say that?
No. I want to do that because I want to write about the stuff I want. I don't want to think I have to have something by 2 p.m. on this day.
So it's quantity over quality when it comes to writing?
I will, for my company.
In mass media, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
it's just content. That's the word, is content.
Wait, you just put lorem ipsum in there.
Well, so this is their example.
Copy paste.
Why don't you just take a YouTube video you really like and then talk about why you like that YouTube video and get 2 paragraphs and then you
garbage.
And that's what I say, because I pour my heart and soul into the things I've written, and they've proven themselves to be evergreen, so that people are clicking on them 5-6 years after I've written them. So every time the month comes, I'm gaining more and more. My numbers are going up every month because people are going back to previous stuff. But they're not going to if I was like, oh, you guys got to see this cat. He touches the pop can. It is so funny. They're not going to like that. But what I've learned through having to write is I call it the economy of words, which is just like you want to save when you go to the store, you want to save when you're writing. So don't use 50 words when you can have the same punch with 5.
Oh,
going to
Definitely.
take you so much longer to get to the perfect 5 words, but it means so much more to the
Yes.
reader and that
Yes.
experience.
Don't waste their time.
Right.
Some people, I feel though, like they want their time wasted. Have you guys read just some of these garbage books that you're like, this could be a quarter of the length, but people love it?
My sister loves to buy the like 25-cent Kindle books where someone is self-published.
Oh my
So there's
gosh.
spelling errors and it's just, I mean, it's that dumpster fire first draft of anything. But she just loves
Why? Why do you think?
Oh, because she says it's so much. It's like watching a bad movie that's good. Because she says like it's amazing because you're like 2 people will be named the exact same name in this, so you don't know which Mary they're talking about.
Mary,
And-
the most generic name.
right? Yeah, like
I kind of wonder, is your sister the type who like stands at a house fire with a smile on her face?
probably.
Yeah, but
probably does.
she also cries at like a Charmin commercial though. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to balance
Wow.
these 2 sides of Christy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and my sister's an avid reader, just consumes and loves reading. In fact, I don't even know how she finds the time to read everything that she does.
Wow.
So I think sort of these little 25 centers can be the cleansing of the palate. So, you finish Ulysses and then you're like, I need something just, light. I need something to read.
Mary goes to the beach.
Yeah. Mary and her best friend Mary decide to go to the beach. What beach? We're not going to tell you
It's
geographically.
named Beach.
It's beach.
Yeah. The beach.
Yeah.
Beach.
It's called Life's the Beach. We just wrote, I think we just wrote a novel
Publish
right
that.
there. Mhm.
TM. That is officially TM.
So, and you do a lot of writing yourself too.
I do.
Yeah. So tell me about your writing experience.
So for the last 2 years, I've been working in grad school, finishing up my thesis. So that was focused on place. So place-based writing means that place is an important character. Like the story couldn't take place anywhere else. So I write from kind of the North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana area. I actually wrote a piece. I tried to explain it to someone. I was like, oh yeah, I'm writing a piece on I-94. They're like, the interstate. Yeah. Really? Yeah, that sounds pretty boring. Okay, I gotta have a new way to pitch that. But I just love, like out here, our childhood, we are rooted in this place. It shaped us. So
Yeah, it's the main arterial road, interstate that connects us to the rest.
it is. And it's connecting, but it's also cleansing. Have you guys, like you get out on that road, you don't have anything to look at. You just are alone with your thoughts. And I've made that drive a million times from here out to Montana. And I've done a lot of growing on that road.
Even from here to Castleton, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
only 30 minutes away, but it's
Everything just opens up.
Yep, very open up. You feel the amount of air above you, which is
you do.
nice.
And you get to be a brand new person.
Yeah.
So, the space between, let's say, Fargo and Jamestown is only 90 miles, but in that space, it's people you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you're a stranger to them, and so
I
you
like
can
that.
you can recreate who you want to be in that exact moment.
In Jamestown, I'm going to be a whole new person.
Jamestown, I'm gonna be a real dick. I'm gonna be so mean to everyone in Jamestown. But then when I get to Bismarck, I'm gonna be sweet as cherry pie.
So when you travel, let's say you're going to a new place you've never been before, do you prefer to travel with a group or alone?
Alone.
I'm
I love
alone.
alone. Are you guys alone? JJ, what are you?
I love traveling
Alone
alone.
or group?
I traveled a lot with the line benders, and I had a great time traveling with them because
Oh, yeah.
we had that yes and open to anything mentality. I do not like if I'm gonna go. I went to Delaware last year, let's say, and
Let's say. So is this
I did.
made up?
I went to. I'm
So
gonna
let's
say
just, for the sake of argument, assume that I went to
I went
Delaware.
to Delaware.
I did, but
And
let's also just assume it.
I had a wonderful time, but I definitely didn't get to do all the exploring I wanted
Mm-hmm.
because you're with 9 other people, and some people get tired, and
Yeah.
some people like, well,
What are we doing for dinner? You got to coordinate,
Right.
It's
That's
not
me.
fun.
I'm always concerned about food.
Oh, let's wait to walk to the next gate because Mary's in the bathroom. It's like, no, I just
What
want to
a
walk to the
beach.
next gate right now and not wait for Mary.
What a beach. Yeah. And in fact, I remember on the way,
I'm a real Putin of air travel.
one thing that I like to do when I travel is I like to go to see a movie in this other town because I like to see what their movie theater looks like.
That's
it's something
cute.
I'm so ingrained with. And sometimes I've stumbled upon some really amazing movie theaters
bet, yeah.
that are done in such an interesting manner, or or the manager comes out before the movie starts and gives a little speech to everyone. I'm like,
Oh, that's so cute.
neat.
Movie MC.
Yeah, and I think you can tell a lot about the culture of the area by their the way that they present their movies. So, is there any independent art house theater in town, or is it only corporations that are presenting movies? I remember going down to Nebraska to see Jill's grandmother, and I was driving by myself from Fargo, and I stopped in Norfolk, Nebraska, and I went to a movie theater there, and they had a CEC movie theater chain, which is what used to be in Fargo.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I walked in, I was like, it was like walking into my past. And I was like, oh, I remember how you guys did this. And look at that.
I never think of movie theaters because you guys are going to just think this is ridiculous. You want to know the last movie I saw in the theater?
Let us guess.
You want to guess? Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Tucker, do you have a feeling on this?
Attack of the Clones.
Nope.
I'm going to say the last movie that you saw in theaters was 50 Shades of Grey.
Oh my God. JJ, I'm Putin.
It was
No.
50 Shades Freed. Thank you very much.
I'm talking about the first of the trilogy.
First, and then I was like, I'm done with movies forever.
Done.
No, the last Harry Potter.
Really?
How long ago was that?
07?
Oh my gosh.
Was it? I don't know. I'm just throwing that off the top of my head.
No, because in 2002,
2010 maybe?
I feel like is when the first Harry Potter movie
We
came
all
out.
stood in line in
sure
high
did.
school waiting for that.
And we got on the local news.
Yeah.
You remember that? Like they were like,
We were
these
all
are the
dressed
first
up.
guys to buy their tickets to Harry Potter. It was either that or it was Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those. Did you guys stand in line for the books at Barnes & Noble
did, yeah.
for Harry Potter?
I remember
No,
one
no.
of the local weathermen trying to cut in the line and a bunch of kids
Oh,
being
like,
like, get to the
no, you
back,
did-
get to the back.
You rascal, get back there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I only got through the fourth book.
What?
And
Do you
I-
not have a heart?
Oh, no, I don't.
Okay.
Also, no soul
Okay.
and not much of a stomach, but
Well, you're missing a few things.
You got a really great pancreas.
I don't believe in souls. We can talk about that another day.
Neither do I. So, hey,
Okay.
it's a good thing not to have. But no, I put it down not out of some sort of, I don't like this. I put it down before the movies even came out, before all of that, and I just never picked it back up again.
Well, now's
as
the
a kid,
time.
I went off to some other thing. And so, I don't know. I mean, I'll complete them at some point, but I'm still trying to finish the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I'm in the middle of Two Towers right
I
now.
feel like you'd be like a big Lord of the Rings guy.
You know what? I haven't been. I should have been, but no, I
I
haven't
couldn't
been.
really, those didn't do it for me. I think I read The Hobbit in the first two. I was like, meh, but I should probably finish it.
Well, it's so historically important in the genre because basically the fantasy genre just got pretty much its walls and ceiling built by Tolkien.
Oh, yeah.
And so everything is sort of a derivation of that. You know,
Yeah.
every fantasy epic that comes out gets compared to Tolkien because it's sort of it is the thing that
It's the
really
bar.
tied in Norse mythology and other things into our sense of medieval fantasy,
yeah.
right? And did
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting to me. And then when I read The Two Towers, I try to read it and think of someone reading it back when it was published. Someone who doesn't have the movies in their head. Someone who hasn't seen big special effects, that you have to create it in your mind. And that has been a trip. But I had to wait for the movies to have been out for a while so that I didn't have that imagery totally stuck in my head again. So
Yeah.
now it's a new experience and it's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What's the last thing you read?
I just read actually fantasy. Well, so I read a lot of nonfiction because that was my MFA. Was nonfiction writing. So I wanted to just totally switch gears. I'm like, I'm craving fantasy. And I just read a new one called The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And it takes place in Russia. Gosh, I mean, I am like going to my roots here. And it was pretty good. It's a trilogy. So I just read the first one. I also ordered Neverending Story. I didn't know it was a book first. And I love the movie. So I'm excited to read that one.
Yeah, I always assumed that at the end of the movie, the spoiler here, that the dragon killed the three bullies because they jump in the dumpster and then,
chomp
like,
'em.
I assume, yeah, he landed and then ate them,
Yeah,
right?
probably should.
Yeah,
That should be the
kids
ending.
are so mean, right?
You know, I learned a few things, so I did some digging on that movie because have you guys seen that recently? It is so sad.
It's dark.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
dark.
when the horse goes down, who's not bawling?
My cousin Benjamin Lohman, who is much older than me and my sister, I remember going down Kate's house for the weekend and him going, "Hey, you guys want to watch a movie?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you guys like horses?" And we went, "Yeah." And he put in that movie.
cruel.
And that scarred me when that horse goes underneath it. Is it a tar pit or like quicksand?
Gosh, what is it called? Like the lake of
basically
sadness
drowning.
or something like
just
that.
drowning.
It just drowns. It just sinks because the sadness overtook it and it couldn't get happy.
Yep.
So it just let the sadness kill it. Yes. So I did some digging. And there are conflicting articles out there there are a lot of people who claim the horse actually died in this stunt. But then there is this like happy article that was like, no, the horse didn't die. It stayed in Germany and lived a long life. That doesn't seem convincing. So I don't know if it actually did or didn't. But the warrior kid, did all of his own stunts, got hurt. Very hurt several times.
Oh, really?
And the author of the book never wanted this movie published. In fact, he tried to sue because he was so angry about the way the book was portrayed.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember I always identified with the rock biter, being made of rock that ate rock.
Tell me about that.
Because when he has that moment of like, they look like big, strong hands. And this, all of a sudden, like,
it's
because
a good voice.
He's someone who his whole life has been about being strong and like as hard as rock. And he could not control the nothing taking away the people that he loved. And that just sunk into me as a kid of like not having any control of your environment. And I thought
and wanting to help everybody and you can't.
Like it's gut wrenching.
Oh gosh.
I also like the Morlock is the wolf creature that goes after
the one with
him.
The big ears? Is that... No, wait.
He looks kind of like a saber-toothed tiger almost, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He gets jabbed by the rock when he attacks the kid.
And so, like, because like the nothing is just coming. He's like, "It is me, Atreyu. I'm the warrior that you've been looking over." But I remember,
Atreyu!
like, the way the guy did the voice work for it, like, "I am the Morlock." And, like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but it still is very vivid in my memory.
No, it is so good.
Do you remember the first book you read that had like a very strong impact on your
Oh, that's a good
mind?
question.
Let me try to word this a little bit better. That really said, I think I like reading, and that this was fantastic.
Yeah, I think it was Nancy Drew. I think I started getting into those mysteries young. And I was like, oh my gosh, there are like 10,000 books in the Nancy Drew series. I could read forever. And each one just captivated me. So I think that's what really I thought, oh my gosh, there are so many books out there. What about you guys? Do you remember?
Wrinkle in Time was the one that I read in the 3rd grade and recently reread it. And it was magical again.
Such a good book.
And then I was really into the Encyclopedia Brown series. Really into Encyclopedia Brown. Have you never heard of Encyclopedia Brown?
I'm trying to remember this. It's coming back to me.
He's a boy detective.
It's a Nancy Drew type story, but with a young boy.
I kind of remember this.
So,
I really, in my mind, were thinking that I was just really into Britannica.
His dad was no.
That was his arch nemesis.
I was actually into that too. But no, his dad was the police chief, and I think the first story you hear is often what would happen is if there was a case that the chief was having trouble solving, he'd go home and then he and his wife and his son, Encyclopedia Brown, would talk about it. He would basically spell out the whole thing, and then Encyclopedia would close his eyes because that's how he thought. And then he was able to solve it usually at the end of it.
Wow.
And then he would use those skills to solve mysteries around the neighborhood with the neighborhood kids.
I don't think I read these.
He even had a sign that he made that he put on the front door of his house that said the Encyclopedia Brown Detective Agency.
Oh my gosh.
No crime too big or too small. And I recreated that sign and called it like the Lucas Detective Agency. Put it on my door. Never got a case. Never got a case.
Never one. Dang. You know what that reminds me of? I also tried to recreate Harriet the Spy. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
I got in so much trouble. I thought I could be a spy. So then I was always caught just spying on everybody, taking diligent notes on what people were saying.
Yeah, but you didn't have a nanny. That was your big.
Yeah, and she was like in New York and she just lived the life I wanted to live.
I I remember reading Lyle the Crocodile in first grade and just getting engrossed in the story. Are you familiar with Lyle the Crocodile?
Yep, I remember that.
And finding out that there were other books in the Lyle series and like, oh yeah. And so even though that they were, primarily picture books, but they told the story, I really got into that. But then when I got old enough to like really start reading like a chapter book, I read the first Boxcar Children book, thinking like this is it, because they're solving mysteries every week. I also think this: if you're not familiar with the Boxcar Children, the very first story is about these kids who are on their own and they find an old boxcar from the train.
Do we know why they're orphaned?
So here's the thing. They're technically not orphaned. Like, it seems like maybe their parents died and they just, like, after the funeral, like, let's get the fuck out of here.
That sounds like an orphan to me.
Yeah.
But they live in this thing, and then all of a sudden, like, they find, like, they're helping this old man pick cherries on his plantation or something, and they're like, he's like, I had 6 grandkids who just disappeared one day, and they're like, oh, that sucks, bye. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, you're our grandfather, and you're super rich, so we don't have to live in our boxcar anymore. We'll live in your mansion.
A really good mystery they solved there.
Right. I was like, these are
They
the
just
people
happen upon their rich grandpa.
Yeah.
There's 6 of them.
Yeah.
Goodness.
You don't remember? Like,
And the grandpa isn't like, hey, I recognize you when my daughter had you.
Right. That's the thing. And then the rest of the story involves like them going out to like, oh, they're with their grandfather on this like seaside vacation.
Wait a second. They don't live in the boxcar after book 1?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
There's like 400 boxcar books.
I know,
Why aren't they called the mansion books?
Do they stay at, Do they stay at
the 1% detective agency.
Yeah, they said like every place they go, they just find a boxcar somewhere, and that's their new base.
It's a clue.
They just head from boxcar to boxcar, and there's a whole network of boxcar children that live like hobos, live amongst all these boxcars. And
maybe that's how they travel.
they have symbols that they carve into walls, so you're like, boxcar children have slept here safely.
So it's the rich kids trying to connect with the poor still.
Yeah,
Their whole life.
They're so rich
We
and
were
bored
just
they have to live in a
like you.
boxcar to have fun and solve mysteries.
Have you ever tried taking a story like the Boxcar Children and putting it into Storysquares and to see if Storysquares can like populate a better book structurally than what already exists? Like to re-engineer some of these?
That's a good idea, except our computer doesn't write the story. So it's not like we're using advanced AI here.
Right, but let's say like
we can make a better story.
Like, let's say the MacGuffin of the book exists in this, like in the second
Was that
act.
a real character?
No, like the MacGuffin, like the red herring.
Yeah.
Okay, she
The red
doesn't know what a
herring.
MacGuffin is. She's never heard of Encyclopedia Brown, and you're teaching writing to kids?
Oh my gosh. Shut it, Tucker.
I believe there's a more creative and clear way you could tell me to shut it, Jenny Sheets.
Shove it up your ass.
Or like putting the Unabomber's manifesto into Storysquares and just seeing what it spits out.
Like the anarchist cookbook.
That's good.
This is how you make a pipe
You know, that
bomb.
reminds me, this is a little off topic of Storysquares, but last year I was teaching college writing to the college freshmen, and they just fucking made me snap. They are such brats sometimes.
Really?
Well, I had to teach composition, the required writing class, not the optional writing class. And I think I just lost it. And I was like, all right, next week on your syllabus, we are reading Hitler's Declaration of War on the United States. And I made them dissect it. And it was so fun. I don't know if they got as much out of it, but just thinking of the Unabomber's manifesto, it is 22 pages long when you print it out. He made his men stand for 80 minutes while he delivered this Declaration of War. It's pretty interesting to read. I recommend it.
Wait, Hitler or the Unabomber?
Hitler.
Okay, I was like, the Unabomber wrote a 22-page manifesto, and he had men who were standing.
As he wrote it.
Got thrown off.
I think the Unabomber's manifesto was much longer than 22 pages.
Can you
I feel
read
like
that?
it was like
Is it
40
available?
or 50. Yeah, I believe you can. And
I might be too scared.
And well, I mean,
You
his
can
thing
pick it
is
up for $6 in the classic section at Barnes & Noble.
yeah, like
Maybe
one
on
of the
Kindle.
like
No.
Remember
It comes-
the 90s?
it comes prepackaged with new iPads. Like be like, buy this iPad, you get a bunch of U2 songs and a couple
U2
manifestos.
Yes, like $10 off of Oakley's.
That you can't delete.
What do you think of audiobooks?
I've listened to a few, but I love the paper book. It's just, I love it so much. But somebody I love on audiobook is David Sedaris. I could just listen to his voice. And his delivery is so good.
When you read his books, you can hear him saying,
Yes.
as you're reading
I have to read his books so much slower because I want to read them how he would read them.
Yep.
Oh, he's incredible.
Tucker and I crushed David Sedaris this last year.
Like
I was in the
physically?
Santaland Diaries.
Oh,
and
I
Tucker
know.
directed me. It was pretty amazing.
And then we found out that he has no rights to that play whatsoever and doesn't see a dime of it.
He was,
Oh my gosh,
he
his
was-
own story.
Yeah, he was just in Fargo, and he did a presentation in Fargo, and afterwards, previous guest Brent Brandt was cool enough to like rip the poster off the wall and like, could you sign this to my buddy JJ? He was just in the Santaland Diaries, and apparently he had this big sigh of, and he explained the story that due to some weird legal precedent that was set because he performed it live, somebody else has taken that from him.
What?
Yeah, they've taken his performance, and now he doesn't see a dime off of it. Somebody
so
else
somebody
is
just
making all the
take
money.
this entire show and perform it?
This show right
Yeah,
here,
ours, like, right
we
now.
already said TM at one point, so I feel like we're
what
covered.
did we TM? See, now I don't even
We
remember.
TM'd
This entire thing,
life's,
TM.
life's the beach.
Yeah, that's not on mugs and t-shirts anywhere.
No. Well, life's a beach, but
No,
life's the beach.
And
There's a
Mary's
big
such a
difference.
beach.
Do you know the difference between when you should say
We are
when you should
so
say
good.
the and the?
Oh, I think it's just whether or not you want to be a pompous ass.
Is that
or
because that's
not.
what I was saying? Like,
the
Get thee to a nunnery.
Definitely.
But I guess that is the word "the" and not "the."
Right. The with two E's.
That would be
is
"the" with two
different.
E's, so that's not correct.
because I love saying things like it's the Tucker Lucas.
I think that makes sense though, because you're trying to emphasize that it is sort of
The one and only.
right, exactly, above all others. This is the genuine article.
But it is interesting that it doesn't have the same ring when it's like, it is the Tucker Lucas.
Right.
It is the Tucker Lucas.
Yeah, the Tucker Lucas. Well, shit.
There you go.
Right, that's the response.
TM that shit.
Do you have a word that like is your like I use this word to seem smart and intelligent? Or
Yeah,
pompous?
probably.
Maybe you like if I were to put all of your writing into a system and I said, "Computer, tell me what is the most overused pompous word that Jennifer uses."
God, that's
what it would spit
embarrassing.
it out.
I'm sure I have a few that I like throw in of like, I'm going to make a point here and I'm going to make everybody feel like
I have a buddy who
shit.
uses insipid all the time.
Oh, boy.
Constantly. It was just insipid. A lot of things are insipid, I guess.
You know, it reminds me. So I started keeping a word journal of words that I didn't know. And I don't know if I'm more embarrassed of anybody finding anything. You can read my diary. You can like strip me down naked, but I'm so embarrassed of somebody finding that word journal of like, oh my God, you don't know that word.
So like MacGuffin.
I'm going to write that down today.
But good for you though. Like I think people nowadays are so poor at realizing some of their limitations and wanting to be better. You're keeping this journal because you want to be better, right? You want to learn these words versus someone who's like, be like, it's so obtuse. Yes, the obtusity of that is ridiculous. Did I use that correctly?
That is the nice thing about Kindles is that you do have that automatic dictionary
Oh, that's nice.
function right away, which has been nice for me. So if I like to read nonfiction on a Kindle,
Yeah.
because that's where I'm typically running into words. I'm like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
And then I can just highlight it and it tells me, oh, that's what that means
That's
right there.
fancy. I'm pretty Kindle illiterate, so
It's not hard to pick up and it's surprisingly fun. It doesn't, for me, replace paper book reading. There's just sort of like some books I want to read one way or another. Fantasy books, I like reading the actual physical book.
Yeah.
A lot of, if I'm reading like a nonfiction about outer space or technology, I kind of like holding a Kindle in my hand while I'm reading it.
feels very techie.
Right. But then you also lose page numbers. Page
Oh, they
numbers
don't
are
have page
not
numbers?
a thing. Nope. It doesn't follow what a book does because you can change the font size and layout.
Well, you'd think that it would then adjust the page number. How do you reference if you're like, JJ, check out page
It has its
44.
own number system that you kind of.
The one thing I don't like about a Kindle is that satisfaction when you open a book and you're towards the end, you're like, I know I'm going to finish this today because you know where you are in the
Yeah.
story. Like, I can't tell you the number of books I've given up with like, oh my God, I'm at page like 95 and I'm still not into this
It
book.
gives you a
Slam.
percentage.
Yes.
It shows you a percentage number, but it's not the same.
Right.
Wow.
sure.
Do you get like tokens? Are Kindles gamified?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe.
No, I think you can get like credits. I mean, it's the one nice thing I think that Kindle has going for it is if you finish a book at 10 o'clock at night and you want to start another, you can. And it suggests other books that are in that genre that you may not have heard of. And so it's got this aspect that is nice, but I like feeling a physical book in my hand. I like
do too.
I like the smell of books.
Oh, so much. New or used. Like they're just they've got just that nice smell. Reminds me of like our old school library. You know, you go in and like that musty smell. Oh, I love it so much.
Do you remember learning about like the Caldecott Award?
Yes.
And like I would always look for Caldecott books. And
The
I'm like,
Newbery Award.
This is the big deal.
Yeah, I thought anything that didn't have the gold star on the front was just pure swill.
Right.
Like, why would I waste my time?
Probably why I read the Polar Express like 9 times.
So if someone said to you, hey, I read this book, and you're like, hey, what edition did you read? And they said, well, I listened to the audiobook. Would you say, well, you didn't read it? Or would you count that as reading the book? I'm just curious. I don't
That's a
have
good question.
an opinion on that myself.
Yeah.
But on Goodreads, it counts as reading a book. If I mean, it can't stop you. So if you listen to it, and that's the way you did it. And I'm wondering how similar it activates the brain. Are you getting the
different.
same benefits out of it? Is your mind getting the same benefits out of it that you do when you're reading it? And you're having to decode things more. You're being more active when you're reading it.
I did see some research that showed when you're actually reading a book, and I don't know if it's different for paper or screen. I'm guessing it would be the same. You have to have a certain sustained attention span. Whereas when you're listening, you can be doing a lot of other things. You're seeing a lot of other things. Your brain is just firing. And so there is something about that sustained long-term attention that's really good for the brain. Because right now we're like little squirrels just flying all over the place. So there is something different, I think, there. So audiobooks, God, if I could get my students to do that even, I would be happy. But read, I don't know if that's the right word. Maybe you like experienced a book.
You ingest it?
I ingested Lord of the Rings.
Well, that's how I ingested the Nannyland Diaries with you. Or is that what it's called? Nannyland Diaries?
The Nanny Diaries.
The Nanny Diaries.
How was that?
I liked it.
I couldn't
it was
get into
read
that
by Julia Roberts.
Read by, yep.
Oh, okay.
And we listened to it on a road trip.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
It was good?
It was good.
Let me tell you something. I love that book and its sequel. I've read that book more than any other book.
What?
Yeah.
That's a repeat for you.
I don't know what it is about that story.
Cool.
Maybe it's about the fact that like it's kind of voyeuristic into this world that I will never know.
I just
This
realized
world
I
of
called it the Nannyland Diaries because of Santaland Diaries. That's why.
By the way, do you want to maybe put that together for next season?
I was thinking, where did I get Nannyland Diaries? Oh, that's why. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
And I think it's Emma Krause and Nicole McLaughlin it's two women who write that, and they've written a whole series of books. In fact, they wrote one that I love that is about a girl who in high school, she talks about moving to this town and when she's 13 and she makes some friends. And then the next chapter takes place when she's in her late 20s and she gets a call saying he's home. And so she's getting herself put together and she's flying back to her hometown. Then it goes back. And so the chapters keep going back and forth. And you find out that her boyfriend became like John Mayer.
Wow.
So his whole first CD are all these love songs that he wrote for her and like exposed her private life and feelings. And so like talking about like, the night that he took her virginity and things like that.
Gosh.
And so she's been plagued by these songs for like 20 years. And so now her coming home is her chance to like confront him about this whole thing. It is a wild read. I wish I could remember the name of that book, but it was.
Has it won a Newbery Award?
It definitely not.
Or
It's called like the Nanny album or something.
I also I got into the Wicked series, the Wicked Witch of the West.
I think I have that on my shelf. I haven't started it, but it sounds good.
It's good. Gregory Maguire does a great job putting that fantasy world together. And it's a world you're already familiar with, but he talks about like, okay, so let's talk about the city of Oz.
Yeah.
Because the city has things like grocery stores and, apartment buildings and all these type of things you don't see in the Wizard of Oz movie. And so I think fleshing out a world like that is really unique. And he's done that with, he followed the story of the wicked stepsisters from Cinderella and like what happens to them after, Cinderella now is in power and she's kind of like, so long, bitches.
What are your opinions on lumping in graphic novels with books? Because again, I'm using Goodreads as an example.
Yeah.
it counts as reading a book if you read a graphic novel. And graphic novels could be text dense, or they could have next to no text at all.
Yeah.
You can get through them a lot faster than you can a novel. So I'm just curious too, does that seem fair? Does it seem like you're playing the same game? I mean, you could get a book that's only 50 pages long.
Yeah.
With no pictures and read that and consider it having read a book.
So it seems like you're really concerned about reaching your 20 books this year.
I am, but I'm also concerned about doing it in a way that feels satisfying.
Is this fair? So I'm going to read like a 10-pager. Is that fair?
That's the thing,
I
though.
got 3 pamphlets
If
on
I get to
dietary
20
restrictions.
books, if I get to 20 books and half of them are graphic novels, I don't know how I'm going to feel about myself. Like, did I
I'm
really?
kind of nervous that you're asking me these questions. Like all of a sudden now I have to be the yes, Tucker.
Well,
that's fair.
you
No,
made an
Tucker,
app about
that's
writing,
Not
so
fair. I am the
You
Putin
taught
of
composition.
books.
I'm looking more for opinion. I'll make my own decision
Yeah.
at the end of the day, but I need input.
I would say it's different. It's like, I don't know. No, it's not a book. I know people they're going to hate me, but I'm just like not into the graphic novels. I think they're cool, but it's a different experience, right? It's like the back of a cereal box. Okay, not comparison at all, but somebody out
Now
there.
they're really going to hate you.
Yeah.
Are they out there with torches yet?
When I was in 3rd grade, we had to have a book report every month. And I remember
That's a lot.
Yeah, it was because I was, in 3rd
9
grade,
a year? God.
And I remember one month reading the novelization of Dennis the Menace. And I remember my teacher pulling me aside and being like, "Is this really a book?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a book." And she's like, "But didn't you just watch the movie?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I watched the movie, but that's why I wanted to read the book." And
How dare she?
I will say this now. So now that I am a full-grown adult and I collect novelizations of famous books, so when
Novelizations of movies.
movies, yeah,
Because if
movies,
someone made a novelization of a book,
it might be good. You never know. I mean,
that's a new genre. We should try that out.
why
I'm going to
not?
novelize this book.
It's my novelization of the
But
Two Towers.
They still have to write it. Like, yes, some of the story elements are the same, but they're still fleshing it out. And there's so much more that goes into
Internal
a book.
dialogue, right?
Yeah.
Like all that stuff that's in the. But what did Mr. What's his name? The neighbor?
Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson. Like, what was he really thinking before he said those words? That's in a book.
And in the Gremlins 2 novelization, they go way off the
Gremlins
rails.
is a book?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Both Gremlins and Gremlins 2, the new batch.
That was the scariest movie I ever saw as a child.
Me too.
I had nightmares for weeks after seeing Gremlins.
Is that why you don't go to the cinema? It's because you're worried that a gremlin might pop
And
up
that's
in a
why I
movie?
don't look at the cupboard under the sink.
Oh, because you're worried
hate
that
it.
it's going to come out and scratch you across your chest.
Yeah.
That'd be awful.
They're
I'd hate
vicious.
that. I'd hate that.
I just saw a really terrifying movie. Okay, so I'm not a movie watcher. I watch maybe 2 a year because I just don't have the attention span. I have so many things to do.
You can read books.
I can read a book. Yeah, I don't know. That was
Poking holes in your arguments here, Jenny.
thanks. Poke a hole in you. But I just
This is why I haven't talked to him for 8 years.
My mom made me watch Bad Times at El Royale.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Scared the shit out of me. Seriously. What'd you guys think of that? Did you see it?
Haven't seen it.
Was it the aspect of someone peeping on you? Was it the gunplay?
I think it's when the girl hits him over the head with the wine bottle and then
yeah.
everything just goes to hell and it gets so scary. The music, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's long. It is a long movie.
It is a long
so
one.
Paula loves that movie enough though. She was like, "Jennifer, you need to watch
I know,
this."
she was kind of sick. I was like, "Oh, is it a comedy?" She's like, "I'll let you make up your own mind." And it ends up being this horror thriller. Everybody's getting killed.
Oh, I love
Thanks,
that.
Paula.
I love that.
God.
So let's say somebody approaches you and says, "Jennifer, I'd like to make a major motion picture based off of some of your work."
Oh boy.
But here's the thing. You need to write in some product placement here. We need to be able to sell this to some agencies so that we can afford to make the movie. What are some of the products you're going to include there? You get to choose.
Ooh.
So what are some of the products you're going to put into your stories so that they can be adapted?
That's a good question. So I don't have a soul, so I'm not really too concerned about selling out. Neither does Tucker, so he can maybe go in on this too.
I don't think anyone does, but
No, exactly.
now the pitchforks are coming.
Exactly.
I've got a bunch of gummy bears inside of me.
I would throw in, probably let's categorize this. The practicals, Charmin,
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, like somebody's probably going to use
At first
Charmin.
I was like the practicals, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Is that like a television program?
the practicals. It was, you know, like Meet the Beavers, but the practicals.
Sure, but now you have to write a
okay.
part of your story where the character
about
based on you
Charmin.
is like, it's like, I gotta go take a sloppy one. Give me some Charmin.
My characters don't say sloppy one.
Oh, what are they saying instead?
I have to poo.
Before, just yesterday when Jenny and I were texting about the location of this, I was talking about how the kids at North High use the term pimp squat.
Oh, God.
And yeah,
I know.
like,
Tucker's, okay, the look on his face. Do you
What
see
is
this?
that
What
mean?
is this?
What is that?
it's a good thing. It's like, yeah, get your pimp squat on.
So is it a noun?
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's more of like a
Because you
a way
referred
of
to it
life.
as like this studio. As
Yeah, like our
pimp
studio is
squat.
totally pimp squat.
Oh, I thought it was like
a
a
description
pimp
word.
squat, like a place.
Well, so like a place where a pimp squats.
Well, see, that was my question then
Right.
to JJ. Is that a toilet?
That sounds like a place where a pimp takes a shit.
Yeah.
A pimp squat.
Yeah, this place is so nice. A pimp would shit here. That's what that sounds like to me.
I think that it's an exercise where you're holding two big chalices full of wine and you can't spill any of it, or you have to start over. You're doing like lunges with your
But you
pimp
have to be wearing
chalices.
like a huge fur coat.
Yeah, there's a lot of
you're really
chains,
squats.
a lot of chains, big hats, pulling the Air Force when you go down.
I feel like we could make, you know, like they do Oktoberfest games or something. We should have like a pimp fest.
Yeah, pimp
And
squat
that's-
doesn't even roll off the tongue nicely.
So this is a high school term. This is what the kids are
Yeah,
saying.
pimp squat.
Pimp squat. What else are they saying
Not
these days?
squad,
No, squat.
squat.
Yeah. Oh, trust me. I listened to it enough to be like, are you saying squad or squat? And I thought they said squab. And I'm like the bird?
Oh God. Pimp squab. You know, I couldn't get on board either with AF. You know, AF,
AF.
but they say it AF.
What's
Yep.
AF?
As fuck.
But they just put they put the words, the letters together to make AF. So
Yeah.
like this studio is lit AF.
Yep.
Oh.
It's
know,
just,
this is
it's
the
just so
thing.
you don't have to actually say it.
I would constantly be confused. Are you putting the Associated Press? Because AF would look like AP, right?
Okay, Grandpa.
No. Let me tell you about my favorite Halloween ever. I happened to be in Bozeman for an improv show to
Oh, I
benefit the Wounded
remember
Warrior
this.
Project. And I was like, Jenny, I'm going to be in your town. Let's light it up. And we went on a bar crawl that night. I was dressed as Honey Boo Boo from the show Honey Boo Boo.
Straight up skirt,
Yeah.
t-shirt.
I had like a Tinkerbell t-shirt.
Your hair was even a little longer and like
was.
in your face.
Yeah. But it was also kind of cool that night, so I still was wearing a green zip-up sweater vest. So on top of it,
The sweater vest was really classy.
people, I have never had a costume where people knew it immediately when they saw it. They're like, "Oh my god, Honey Boo Boo, that's awesome!" I took an amazing picture next to a girl who was crying, where I'm just waving at the camera and pointing with my other hand at this girl who slumped over on a curb crying.
The running
You know, but-
mascara.
I don't know if you remember that you were later then slumped over on the curb.
Yeah.
I think we actually like you ended up in the gutter, like actual a gutter.
I was singing the song Dance Magic Dance from the Labyrinth soundtrack, and I had more than my share to drink, and I'm walking side by side with Britta, and we're like, and baby said, Dance Magic, and suddenly my voice disappears because I've fallen off the curb and I face plant into the streets of Bozeman.
So Honey Boo Boo just face down.
Yeah. I pick on Britta a lot when I'm drunk, and so I did something where like I pulled the branch back on a tree and I let it thwap her in the face.
She got hurt that night.
She did. And then I swung my sweater vest at her and almost zippered her in the eye. And then she's also deathly allergic to pineapple. So I had that squirt and I was like
threw
throwing
pineapple.
squirt at her. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that was a good night. Is that also the night that Dave was dressed up as a 5-year-old?
Yes.
So your Honey Boo Boo and the 5-year-old were running around.
It was an
downtown.
amazing costume.
He had one of those stickies that that you get like in a gumball machine. and
Davey
you like,
Brunsvold?
No,
Or
my
what?
husband, Dave.
Oh, gotcha.
And he had a fanny pack and he threw water on his crotch of his sweatpants so it looked like he wet his pants, and he was hitting everybody in the face with the little sticky thing.
It was
God,
so
you two
fun.
were so annoying.
And then were you from the 80s? Is that what you
I
had
don't know
going
what
on
I was
night?
that year. Or maybe I was my alter ego. I might have been Gloria, the bingo playing hussy.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
that sounds
was
about
I wearing
right.
leopard? Maybe that.
Yeah.
I had like a cigarettes tucked into my bra. Yeah. That was a good, God, we were all just a piece of work.
Oh,
what
such a
happened to
fun
Halloween? It was supposed to be a holiday of like scaring off the demons. Well, I guess we probably did that.
Actually, so that, and then we spent another Halloween together in Madison, Wisconsin.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's right.
That was probably the most awkward Halloween I've ever had before because
Was it?
I ended up at the house of some people I think that you knew.
I didn't know anybody in
Or,
Madison.
okay, so then maybe it was like
I think
Aaron
we
Aaron
crashed.
Rise. And like, I was like, I remember being like, well, I'm going to sleep here, but I don't know any of these people. So here we go.
Where did I sleep?
I don't know.
I have no idea what happened in Madison.
I remember you and I watching four guys dressed as Jesus vomit into a garbage can because Madison goes all out they
was
shut down streets,
all out.
thousands of people, huge costumes, every bar.
I remember we rolled in at like around noon and getting off the interstate, you just see a gorilla walk by, a cheerleader, a robot. And it was just like, oh, here it goes. We're starting. I remember people like running along the tops of parked cars.
Yeah.
It was just pure mayhem.
Yeah, and that was before like the parkour days. Like people were just doing it to like run, and
Just to run.
Do they like grease the lampposts like they do in Philadelphia after a big game?
No, I think they turned it over
grease
to the
them.
people.
Because people climb them.
Yeah.
And so they grease them after before a big game.
what
Because
have-
they know people are going to be rioting.
God, humans are. I just hope we document all of this for when the aliens come.
That's why we all have iPhones and stuff. That's why we're all taking 1,000 pictures a day.
It's good for place writing, right? And like
is.
experience. So John Hughes, the movie Vacation is based off of a piece he wrote for Rolling Stone magazine, I think, called like
With the movie like National Lampoon's Vacation?
Yeah, and it was called like Vacation 59, and it was a short story about this horrific vacation he took with his parents, and they're like, "This is funny. You need to turn this into a script."
Gosh.
And so, like, think about all the great stuff that you could do. Like, I mean, is your goal at one time to write like a big novel?
I want to do a book, but I love writing short essays. So
Yeah.
like 10 pages. So I would love to do a collection of stories, kind of like David Sedaris does.
Yeah.
But nonfiction, basically?
Nonfiction,
Okay.
yep. Yeah.
Yeah, so do that, like Halloween 05.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to pick your brain for some of those stories. We have a lot.
You were the only other person who woke up with me the next morning to go to the farmer's market. Do you remember that?
We went to the farmer's market in Madison.
Yeah.
My God, we're such whole good kids.
I know. It's the most beautiful farmer's market you've
I do
ever
not
seen.
remember this.
The capital city so Madison's the capital of Wisconsin, and the city capitol building is up on this hill.
That's
so
right.
it looks out over the
It's
entire
beautiful.
city. And it's a hill, so it's a walk up to the building, but the entire block around it, rather than all these shops like in a parking lot, the shops line the sidewalk either side. So you walk this full block all the way around.
Did I have a good time?
Yeah. Because it was their farmer's market.
I feel like I'm dying. Did I
Have a good time, JJ.
I remember because you were really amazed that they had there were two places that made homemade wooden toys, like old school wooden toys. And so you were, playing with like these things
I was
at one of
impressed
them.
by this.
Yeah. Because
Isn't that what's at like every farmer's market?
I don't think so. Like,
Were you still drunk?
maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
We had to keep pulling over for someone to throw up on the way home
I don't know
too.
who that is.
And that was the night of the Scottish banquet in Fargo. So I was trying to drive from Madison to Minneapolis to drop off people back to Fargo so I could make it in time to go to the Scottish
You are
banquet.
the king of the overcommit, for
I
sure.
am 100%. 110%.
We ate at the Rainforest Cafe on the way down to Madison.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, I have a picture of all
Dressed
of
as
us.
pirates.
Were we all pirates that weekend? Gosh, that was fun. Oh man. Okay, go down memory lane. I think I've brought this up before, but do you remember when you were our improv coach and you came up with all these games? JJ was trying to be so sweet of getting everybody to work together. And instead of doing like a, zip zap game, we're going to tie everybody together and you're going to run down the school hallway.
Because there were cupcakes at the other end. If
He
they could
put
work as a group.
cupcakes at the other end. And if you can work together, you'll get the cupcakes. Well, we start falling over it, but all of a sudden Phil gets so red in the face and sweaty and he starts screaming and the Hulk comes out and he just knocks everybody over to get to the cupcakes. And JJ, forget it, none of you ruined it.
I remember the most
man.
frustrating thing ever for me was I tried to put together like a syllabus for our improv club because I was like, shouldn't we learn to be better improvisers? There are skill sets you need to take in. And
Instead of just angsty teenagers.
Right. And so I created a calendar for every month and I called it the Dougie. Because I thought if I gave it a name, people would be less apt to
Where'd
throw
you
it in
get
the
the
garbage.
Dougie?
I just thought Doug was a fun name for a calendar, and then Dougie is adorable, right?
So you thought if you personalized it, we wouldn't throw it away.
It didn't matter. Like, I handed them out, and then all of a sudden I was like, well, I printed 30, and I guess I've collected 27. So 3 people must have used them
Who
to spit
kept
their
it?
gum out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Was there anybody that was like, who would have been the one to be like, okay, JJ, I'll read this?
Probably Randy.
Maybe.
And she was being polite, but
Yep.
like she ended up like doodling on the back of it. So as we come to the end of this podcast, Jennifer, tell me about your extreme love for the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, JJ.
Because I've been in your bedroom before and it was something out of a nightmare.
Does it continue to this day?
You know, okay, so I'm going to get to that question with another little tidbit about me. I've never sang karaoke. And for the last 4 years, it has been my New Year's resolution that I will sing karaoke. And every year I wuss out. And I don't wuss out. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll go hang off that mountain. I can do this. I've streaked. I cannot do karaoke. But this year I got so close. I found my song. I was at the bowling alley. I was like, this is it. This is the year I do karaoke. I dipped out the back. I totally ghosted, ran away. But you know what it was? Everybody. Yeah. Rock your body. So it still kind of continues. It's still in my heart. But my bedroom, I had posters. I had my tickets. I went to the concert. I had those on the wall. And then one year, Burger King, this is the weirdest thing. I'm kind of embarrassed of telling this story. Burger King partnered with the Backstreet Boys. That's how you really know you made it.
You got 2 B's in your name. We got 1 B in our name.
You guys are the kings. And they made Backstreet Boys action figures, like high quality action figures. And I had those on my bed, like on my little nightstand, and so I would say goodnight to them. Yeah. Oh, those
Did you
were
ever
the good
kiss
old
any
days.
of the posters? Like,
Obviously.
Who was your favorite Backstreet Boy?
Oh, Nick. He was the blonde one.
Yeah.
He waved at me when I was at the concert.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, huh? I was in the 3rd row, and he waved.
Then what were your feelings on the other rival boy band groups?
NSYNC. Bye, bye, bye. Am I right?
what about O-Town?
What's O-Town?
That was one of them, right?
That does sound familiar.
98 Degrees.
Oh my gosh, all these spin-offs.
Menudo.
The original boy band.
Oh man, they were trying.
What was it about the Backstreet Boys that spoke to you?
That is
From the
wow.
back streets.
Yeah, they were really from the streets. Felt like they got me. That's a good question. I feel like I should lay down for this.
Wasn't their first big hit song Backstreet's Back? And it was like,
Back from
where
what?
did you go?
from where? Were you big before?
Backstreet's Back. You're right. That was on their first album.
Yeah. I
Maybe
remember.
they meant like their back, like not their front.
I just remember that blowing up TRL. Right.
Ooh, Total
Carson
Request
Daly
Live.
was like, all right, it's another week with Backstreet's Back at number 1.
Followed by Kid Rock.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know. I loved them. I had all their albums. I'm gonna have to go dig those out now. Thank
Did you
you
ever have
for
like
the
any of the
memory.
imports? Did you ever get like the Swedish import that had an extra 6 seconds on one track?
Gosh, I think my my budget was limited because I worked at the church daycare and I got $10 a week.
My.
So I think that was all I could afford. So Swedish albums were not in my budget. Maybe now I have a full-time job, so all my money could go to Backstreet Boys.
Are male a cappella groups basically by definition boy bands?
Well, male a cappella groups are probably boys.
Right.
Right.
But
So
a boy
is-
band is
so are
a
they-
genre, right?
No, I think
Because it's like all vocalists, right?
Do you remember the Blenders?
Oh,
yeah.
Do I remember the Blenders?
We just had one of the
I've
Blenders
been
as a
buying up
guest.
their CDs like crazy.
Are they still together?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I need to. Maybe are they a boy band?
You do live on a mountain, don't you? You definitely live on a mountain
I'm
somewhere.
sorry, in Montana, we're not all hip with the Blenders, but we will be now. I'm going to bring them to Montana.
We just had Ryan Lance of the Blenders on JJ Meets World a few episodes ago.
This is their
They are so
30th
good.
year.
Wow.
Like they're celebrating like
I
a
am
big
impressed
milestone.
that they have not Like most bands don't stay together that long.
Well, they only get together 1 month out of the year and then random gigs here and there.
Okay.
And then they're all doing their own awesome thing individually.
Sweet. Are they on Spotify? Where can I find their music?
You know, they might be on Spotify.
I bet they are.
Yeah.
I'll check them out.
The McDonald's girl one is going to be on there.
You can definitely go to a pawn shop and pick up any of their albums for
$1. That's what I've been doing.
Ooh,
I've
you
gotten
know-
back into CD buying.
You can play CDs
Yeah.
in your car, or what do you have? Do you have a CD player?
Yep.
Do they still make those?
Yep. I still have a CD player. I still have a CD player in my car.
I'm getting him a CD wallet for his birthday.
That's cute. You know, my car is so old, it's still no CD player, but it does have a cassette player. So my friends have been buying me cassette tapes.
Well, think about it. Like, we grew up in the golden age of CDs. Like,
If you want to call it that, CDs suck.
Okay, the golden age of CDs, all right? So all the music that we grew up with, it was on CD first and foremost. And CDs are just people are just throwing them out, right? So you can go to any thrift shop, pawn shop, and find CDs for $1.
What used to be $22.99.
Exactly.
You can get Garth Brooks' third album.
But then I take
for
it, then I take it
$1.
home and I rip it, and I get the same quality as I would buying it at full price on iTunes.
So what do you do
Ooh.
with it afterwards?
Then I just hold on to the CD on a shelf
You
if I want to.
You don't bring it into like another
Yeah, are
thrift
you
store?
hoarding?
No, I'm buying CDs to keep them for
Should we
sure.
be worried about you?
No, not at all. I have
JJ?
goals.
How's
I
his
have
house?
goals, Jenny Sheets.
Does he have just like stacks
Oh,
of newspapers?
let me tell you something.
Is he
I've
writing
helped-
his manifesto?
I've helped Tucker move so many times. He's got these big turquoise tubs. And at one point I was like, I swear to God, you haven't opened this tub since the last time I moved it. So why don't we just throw it in
I don't remember the last time I lived somewhere
just
where it
full of
ever
bricks
looked
and-
like I unpacked. I don't
just
know if I've ever unpacked.
Just keep it for like this one's for JJ. Hee hee.
Well, I'm moving again here in the fall, so I don't know. A lot of that's just going to
Keep
stay
in
in
the
there.
tub.
But I'm hiring people this time.
Jenny, you got an awesome future. Thank you so much for stopping in to be a guest today.
Thank you. This was so fun, you
If
guys.
people want to see what's going on with Storysquares or maybe follow you on social media, where are they going
Yeah.
to find you?
Storysquares is at storysquares.net. So you can sign up for the app. Right now we're looking for a lot of testers, so it is free for a limited time. And my personal writing is at jennifersheets.com.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Jennifer, any weird spelling on that, or is the standard Jennifer?
There's a silent P in the middle, but you have to guess where it is.
Is it between the ends?
How do you spell sheets?
SHEETS.
Just like regular sheets.
Just like, Tucker, stop.
Fitted,
I have had enough of you.
loose sheets.
Podcast end. A huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring this podcast. Folks, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Natalie Deutsch today, because Natalie Deutsch is not only a previous podcast guest, she's somebody who's going to care enough to sell your property for top dollar. She's also going to find you the best price possible if you're purchasing a new home. Last year on average, Natalie earned her clients $4,000 over list price on their homes and sold them faster than the market average. On average, Natalie's selling a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Those numbers don't lie. Find out why Natalie is one of the top agents in this entire market. Get a hold of her today, Natalie at hatchrealtyfm.com. You can also call 701-388-9338 or go on to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com. Read all of her amazing reviews and then listen to her episode of JJ Meets World. Thanks again to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJMeetsWorld and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com and you can find direct contact info for JJ. If I was going to dedicate a book to anyone, I would dedicate it to Ronald McDonald, but pretend like he was like the clown man was my uncle. and I would thank him for all the fries.